Hello, folks. Welcome to Season 2 of the GOAT series. I'm your host, Jeremy Hadler, and today I'm going to talk about the greatest Colts player in franchise history. And in today's episode, I'm going to go over the rules here like I always do in the GOAT series, which is we choose 5 candidates of who we think is the greatest Colts player of all time up to this franchise point right now. Criteria we always look for is looking for the player accomplishments, tenure of the team, stats of the franchise, and how are they on and off the field. And we also do honorable mentions like I always do. And when we have a guest on, we will have them have their own honorable mention, but we don't have a guest for this episode, so I'll have my own honorable mention. And at the end of the video, I choose my ultimate Colts GOAT. And at the end of the video, we choose our ultimate Colts GOAT. But let's run it through, folks, to start off with our honorable mention. My honorable mention for the Indianapolis Colts is Robert Mathis. Robert Mathis played 14 seasons for the Indianapolis Colts. He's a one-time Super Bowl champion, 2-time first-team All-Pro, 5-time Pro Bowler, 3-time forced fumbles leader, made the Colts Ring of Honor. His stats, folks, 18 passes defended, 54 forced fumbles, 17 fumble recoveries, 123 sacks, 538 combined tackles, 108 tackles for a loss, and 141 QB hits. Now, the big thing that sticks out to me is his forced fumbles because he's the all-time leader in sacks and forced fumbles in Colts history, which is pretty good. And going back to the forced fumbles and sacks, Robert Mathis holds the franchise record for the Colts in that category. He holds that, so that's pretty awesome. Let me talk to you about his game because I remember watching a little bit of him as a kid. He was a great leader, always dominant in that presence, created a lot of pressure, and he was very consistent on that, created a lot of turnovers. He had great techniques, tenacity, and had a way of just bulldozing those offensive linemen, just find a way to put consistent pressure with that leverage. It's just awesome to see that. But off the field, I mean, he was very vocal, very helpful in the community. He was a very dedicated player, whether that was just helping with the locker room and the team, but he was very helpful in the Indianapolis community. His work ethic stood out to me a lot, so I think he deserves some praise. And when you put 54 forced fumbles and 123 sacks, and you're the all-time leader in sacks and forced fumbles, that has to get recognized. So for me, I got to put Robert Mathis right here as my honorable mention. Unfortunately, did not make the list because there were a couple other guys that are better, but he had to be recognized, in my opinion, ladies and gentlemen. First candidate off the board I got is Peyton Manning. Yes, Peyton Manning. We all know what happened when he was with the Colts and how well he did. Then, of course, he had almost a career-ending injury, then signs with the Denver Broncos, and I talked about it when we did our Denver Broncos episode. He went on to succeed there as well, but he spent a majority of his career with the Indianapolis Colts. Now, he's gone both ways to retirement, but the Colts fans, I don't know how you feel about him still. I obviously did great things for you, but I don't know when he left you guys and went to go succeed with Denver. I don't know. But he played 14 seasons with the Colts. He's a one-time Super Bowl champion with the Colts, one-time Super Bowl MVP, 4-time MVP with the Colts, one-time Offensive Player of the Year, one-time Walter Payton Man of the Year, 5 first-team All-Pro, 3 second-team All-Pro, 11-time Pro Bowler, 2-time passing yards leader, 3-time passing TDs leader, 3-time passer rating leader, 1-time completion percentage leader. He's in the Colts Ring of Honor, got retired by the Colts. He's in the Hall of Fame, honestly, ladies and gentlemen. Let's talk about stats real quick. His stats, 54,828 passing yards. This is, again, with the Colts and their stats with the Colts. 399 passing TDs, 198 interceptions, a 94.9 passer rating. Now, the things that stick out to me about Peyton Manning is his nickname's the Sheriff. And the reason why is because how he would call it at the line, how he called the plays and see the audibles, the blitz coming here and there, and seeing what is the defense doing. And he was pretty good with game plan and taking a lot of control on the offense. He was very good at that. That really stood out to me with him. And Peyton Manning, he's a consistent player. That great arm. I mean, he comes from a great football family with his brother Eli. His father played in the NFL, and he has this other brother that played a different position, but still a good arm. I mean, Peyton Manning, he could do the job. He had a great leader, very vocal. I really liked him. And the way he went about the game of just teaching it and going over, like going through, okay, let's see, what's this play like? How are we doing this? How we can attack the defense? And he would go over it so many times, and he's very vocal. That's why they call him the Sheriff. And he called the plays right then and there. And he knew what to do under like high pressure situations. It's like the game's on the line and they got to get a touchdown or they got to get a field goal range. He knows what to do and managed the clock very well. He's very good at that, in my opinion. So Peyton Manning, I mean, I love watching this guy, especially as a kid, one of my favorite players watching growing up with. But so I got to put Peyton Manning here as one of my candidates here because he's got to get recognition despite leaving for Denver. Got to give recognition, especially the Colts. Got to give recognition of what he did with this Colts franchise. Next player on the list, this is another quarterback. This guy nicknamed the Golden Arm. That is Johnny Unitas, Golden Arm. Played 17 seasons with the Indianapolis Colts. Back then, they were also called the Baltimore Colts, ladies and gentlemen. Just to remind you of that. He's a Hall of Famer, one-time Super Bowl champion, three-time NFL champion, three-time MVP, one-time Man of the Year, before it was called Walter Payton Man of the Year, 5 first-team All-Pro, 3 second-team All-Pro, 10-time Pro Bowler, 4-time passing yards leader, 4-time passing TDs leader, 2-time passer rating leader, 1-time completion percentage leader. Got retired with his number 19. His stats, folks, which aren't too fantastic, but back then it was pretty solid. He got the job done. 54.7 completion percentage, 287 passing TDs, 246 interceptions, 39,768 passing yards, and a 78.8 passer rating. The big thing with Johnny Unitas is his arm. His arm really stood out to me of just throwing it down the field and he would get it going. Like, that was the big thing with me about Johnny Unitas. I never got to watch him because I was not even born during his day, but he was very fantastic at watching and just a great player overall. But his arm definitely sticks out to me. I mean, he was also good on the run he was also good on the run, just like doing outside the pocket moves and just kind of extend the play a bit more. He was one of those early guys before, like, obviously we had with like Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. You get to see like all the guys now in today's age, like got to throw out the side, extend the pocket, do a lot of play action. Johnny Unitas did a lot of that. He did a lot of that. So I really like him, and I think he has to get praise, and just a nice human being, too. He was a very nice human being. So Johnny Unitas, I got to give praise here for him. Next player on the list I got is Reggie Wayne. Reggie Wayne played 14 seasons with the Indianapolis Colts, one-time Super Bowl champion, one-time first-team All-Pro, two-time second-team All-Pro, 6-time Pro Bowler, one-time receiving yards leader. He's the Colts' all-time leader in played in games. He made the Colts Ring of Honor. His stats, folks, 1,070 receptions, 14,345 receiving yards, 82 receiving TDs, total scrimmage yards, 14,345. Now, the big thing with Reggie Wayne that always sticks out to me is that relationship he had with Peyton Manning back in the day, because that formed one of the most productive quarterback wide receiver duos in NFL history, especially with Peyton Manning. Like, that's one of the best duos I've seen. And the big things that stick out to me with Reggie Wayne is he was clutch. He performed in the moments you need him. When you need him to make that first down, when it's like 3rd and 8 and the game's on the line, or get the game-winning touchdown or get in field goal range, like when you need the guy and you depend on it, he was your man. And Peyton Manning relied heavily on it. That was another issue we're going to talk about very soon. But Reggie Wayne was one of those guys, and he was very consistent, reliable, as I mentioned before, and he's very durable and would fight through some injury too. So he really praises to me, and I really like Reggie Wayne. And then also talk about his leadership and his professionalism. Even when the Colts would like go mad at him, like if he really had a bad game, he was very professional and never like went against it. He never went out of his way to go bash on the teammates, never went to go like, hey man, you should have stayed instead of going to Denver. Like, he was very professional the whole time, and I really respect that. But he also has great presence in the locker room. He would help elevate the receivers or Peyton Manning if like somebody's not having a good game, or like they need like some cheer up. He'd be that guy. And Reggie Wayne, very happy to see that. Very happy to see that, Reggie Wayne. All right, our next player here, ladies and gentlemen, is I'm going to go right to the other receiver I was talking about, and that is Marvin Harrison. Marvin Harrison played 13 seasons for the Colts. He's a Hall of Famer, also part of the quarterback wide receiver duo, forming another most productive in NFL history with Peyton Manning and Marvin Harrison. He's a one-time Super Bowl champion, 3-time first-team All-Pro, 5-time second-team All-Pro, 8-time Pro Bowler, 2-time receiving yards leader, 2-time receptions leader, 1-time receiving TDs co-leader. Stats, folks, 1,102 receptions, 14,580 receiving yards, 128 receiving TDs, 14,608 total scrimmage yards. Now, this is the better wide receiver quarterback duo of Peyton Manning than it was with Reggie Wayne. Now, not to say both were amazing, but Marvin Harrison Sr. is the better one, folks. He's the better one. And TV reasons why that was one of the most productive quarterback wide receiver duos was he connected with Peyton Manning for 114 touchdowns, an NFL record that stood for many years. Then you go to the single season record which Harrison set the NFL single season record for most receptions, which was 143. That stood for over a decade. Over a decade. Now, he was consistent, and he also showed up in big moments like Reggie Wayne. Like Reggie Wayne, he showed up in the big moments, and he was also consistent. But the things that stick out to me to compare with the two was Marvin Harrison was a better route runner, and he had better hands. Those were some of the things, because the way you would watch his game back in the day was insane. And they, honestly, the big trio right there, they helped make that offense so good for so many years and won a Super Bowl out of that. But it was just amazing to see that one of the most productive offenses, and both of those guys really helped out Peyton Manning get better in his career and help him get a lot better at the quarterback position. But no, Marvin Harrison, he was better statistically with Peyton Manning, in my opinion. He was the best receiver out of that group than Reggie Wayne. But yeah, I like to give praise to Marvin Harrison. Marvin Harrison Sr., folks. I like to give praise to him. All right, last player on this list I got for the Colts is Dwight Freeney. Dwight Freeney played 11 seasons for the Colts. He's a Hall of Famer, one-time Super Bowl champion, three-time first-team All-Pro, one-time second-team All-Pro, seven-time Pro Bowler, one-time sack leader, one-time forced fumbles co-leader, made the Colts Ring of Honor. His stats, folks: 14 passes defended, 44 forced fumbles, 3 fumble recoveries, 107.5 sacks, 316 combined tackles, 113 tackles for a loss, 112 QB hits. Now, him and Robert Mathis created a great duo on that defensive line, that pass rush, which was fantastic watching that back in the day. Now, with Dwight Freeney, the thing that stuck out to me, he was very good at bull rushing. And again, like I mentioned, Robert Mathis takes the offensive lineman out and bulldoze him and rush through him and get after the quarterback, especially against Brady. Very dominant, like I mentioned, had more speed, and he had more spin moves like a Reggie White, and he would keep doing that, which was unblockable with his style. And Dwight Freeney really did well with that. And you saw him, as I mentioned in the stats, get after the quarterback so many times. So I like to give praise to Dwight Freeney here. But yeah, Dwight Freeney has to get recognition on this list here, folks. He really does. But again, as I went through this list, you pretty much go from the past Super Bowl team because of how good this has been. But I mean, you had Dwight Freeney, Robert Mathis create a good pass rushing duo on the defense side. Then you go on the offense side, you had Peyton Manning, Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne. Fantastic group. All of them were fantastic players. And now we get to my GOAT, ladies and gentlemen. Comes down to a couple players for me. Johnny Unitas instantly has to get recognized there. Then you have to go Marvin Harrison, slightly over Reggie Wayne, because I mentioned before, statistically a bit better, so I got to give praise to him. And then I got Peyton Manning as my other finals. Despite what has happened at the end of his tenure for the Colts, he still put up good numbers and helped them win the Super Bowl and achieved a lot. He achieved a lot. I mean, it's really the quarterbacks to me. I mean, again, as I mentioned with Marvin Harrison, I thought he deserved praise. To me, I mean, obviously Johnny Unitas lasted longer. Both are Hall of Famers. Both have won the Super Bowl one time. They both have very close to the MVP award. Payne won it obviously one more time. They both have the same first team All-Pros. Like, they're very identical. Obviously, the stats are going to be a bit off. The GOAT for me, folks, it's Peyton Manning. I think it's Peyton Manning. Despite the similar achievements he had with Johnny Unitas, and obviously the stats are way different, but Johnny Unitas played in a different era and how the stats were obviously off, Peyton Manning still performed. He still performed even when he had the mediocre rookie season and set the highest amount of interceptions thrown in a rookie season. But I think Peyton Manning is still fantastic. He did a lot with the team. I mean, obviously the Super Bowl champion, but he kind of helped bring the Colts back into place. He helped them bring them back to being great and historic and always a lovable guy. And the offense with him was always fantastic. So to me, I got to give Peyton Manning here. I just think he's one of the fantastic players. Obviously, people will reference him as a Bronco too. Recency bias, I will remember him for the Broncos just because I watched him the most recent time. But I did get to watch him as a Colt, and it was very fun watching him. So to me, Peyton Manning is the greatest Colts player of all time, in my opinion, folks. But that's my list here, folks. Peyton Manning is my GOAT, but let me know in the chat, folks. What do you think? Do you think Peyton Manning is the greatest Colts player of all time as of right now? Let me know in the chat. I'd love to hear your thoughts. But to me, again, it's Peyton Manning. I think he just wins it. Just the amount of, like, what he has accomplished. I mean, obviously similar, but he did a bit better than Johnny Unitas to me and Marvin Harrison Jr. But that's all I got, folks. We'll see you next time for another episode of the GOAT series of Season 2 as we continue with another franchise. But thank you, folks. Appreciate it, and we'll see you next time. Have a great day.